Welcome back to Newsmaker Saturday. Thanks for being with us tonight. 26 years ago, the so-called Phoenix Lights captivated the nation. Chances are, when we say Phoenix Lights, you probably know what we're talking about. One of the biggest UFO sightings in the world. And the official explanation for it, if you can call that, has been military flares. Some accept that theory. Others don't buy it. Dr. Lynne Kitei saw those lights back in 1997 and has been exploring this phenomenon ever since then. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, because there is so much mis and disinformation out there that even after thousands of people saw what I'd been seeing and documenting on film, the only one with 35mm of these UAP, unexplained aerial phenomena, up close and personal, and had them analyzed, and military and university optical experts, no one can give me an answer. They're in the negative. They can't be fudged. Right. They speak for themselves. But after thousands of people saw what I had been seeing for 2 years, and it was mind-boggling, because I didn't know we had this kind of technology. I knew nothing about this topic. It set me on a journey, pushed my whole medical career, accomplished medical career aside for 7 years, looking for a logical explanation, which I have yet to find after 26 years.
Yeah, you're a physician and you're retired now, but you were practicing at the time. So the Phoenix Lights that we're referring to, what people know, happened back in 1997. But 2 years prior to that, you saw something in the sky then, right? So what did you see? Describe it. Tell us what it was.
Actually, in 1995, we live mountainside in Paradise Valley and have a panoramic view of the city skyline. One of our windows of our bedroom, it's a whole wall is a window. So anything that pops up out there, we see. We're so familiar with planes because we see Sky Harbor and helicopters and streetlights and car lights and so forth. This was literally and figuratively right outside our bedroom window. We're pretty high on a mountain, and it was right outside our bedroom window, a little lower than us, were 3 amber orbs in a pyramid formation, one on top and 2 closely aligned underneath. And it was not only mesmerizing, but it was mind-boggling, because what was that? And I tried to take everything in mentally, because you don't know how long it's going to last. The size, the shape, the color, they were about 3 to 6 feet each, depending on how close they were. They were oval shaped, which is interesting now that the Nimitz Navy pilots have come forward with the Tic Tac videos, and they talk about oval-shaped UFOs. And there was an amber color throughout, and I call them an orb, because the light did not extend outside the edge. It was self-contained, very mesmerizing, very soothing. Every other light out there glared. These did not. And I thought, if I don't get a picture of this as a scientist, I'm very pragmatic and a healthy skeptic, no one's going to believe it. So I go running to the closet to grab my 35mm. My husband calls me back, also a physician, healthy skeptic. And as we both stood there in awe, the top orb started to shrink very, very slowly, mechanically, as if there was an intelligence behind it. And it got to pea size and disappeared, but it still felt like it was there. Didn't tell us all about this, but it did. It felt like it was still there. Where did it go? I stepped out on the balcony, got a quick picture of the 2 lower orbs, and immediately noticed an eerie silence, as if time had stopped. I always go back to this sighting, because this was up close and personal, very close. And as I'm staring at these 2 lower orbs, and it took over 2 years till I shared this with investigators after the mass sighting, it felt like someone was staring, or something was staring back at me. And it was so unnerving that the next day I called around. I figured there must be a logical explanation. Found air traffic controllers at Sky Harbor International Airport, saw the same thing at the same time, and were very forthcoming. Said that it appeared over Class B restricted airspace, about 1,000 feet altitude.
But it wasn't on radar, right?
It was not on radar.
That's what they say.
Exactly, and they got worried, because this was over the tarmac, and one of them was a meteorologist, and told me that the entire thing, these 6 points of light that seemed to be attached to something, but they couldn't quite see what these lights were attached to, which you would hear again by thousands of people 2 months later, actually turned as a unit against the wind, elevated slowly, and then moved in synchrony behind South Mountain. So I said, so what was it? And there was silence. And then one of them said, beats me. I said, you're air traffic controllers. You're supposed to know what's in our airspace. They ruled out, and this is telling, every conventional aircraft, balloons, Chinese lanterns, flares, even skydivers with lights. We stayed in contact up until and including March 13th, when thousands of people, for anybody that doesn't know about the mass sighting out there, were outside purposely looking up at the sky for a glimpse of the Hale-Bopp comet, when they also caught a glimpse of 1 to 8 mile wide, according to Peter Davenport from the UFO Reporting Center in Seattle, Washington, National UFO Reporting Center. 8 miles wide, either these orbs that seem to be attached to something or actual craft. And that's where the mis and disinformation comes in, because it wasn't just 1 or 2 events.
Right.
It was many events.
So when you see this event happen, and so many people say that they saw the same thing in the sky, you're not alone there. I mean, what is your thought initially when you see this?
Well, it's awesome. Well, that's a really good question.
There's no fear there?
That's a really, one of the reasons I came forward was to share, because the data speaks for itself. And after 26 years, there is not one credible report of harm, threat, or abduction associated with the Phoenix Lights phenomenon. I can't speak for other things,
right,
but I can about the Phoenix Lights. It wasn't just orbs. It was also craft, and multiple craft. We had a 12-year study. That's on the Phoenix Lights Network website if anybody cares to look. Beautifully illustrated, and animations by Larry Lowe, and one of them actually that our former governor saw, that there were 10 different craft. 2 or more people had to see the same craft to be in the study. Nobody was scared. Yes, there's some people out there because of the movies.
Yeah. It is interesting that there are so many reports of people saying that they wanted to know more, that they were very interested. They felt a sense of almost peace, like silence.
Exactly. There was telepathy as well.
But I do want to say, so NASA put out a report on UAP in 2021. It was mostly inconclusive. I'm sure you know this, but it found potential patterns in shape, size, propulsion, and the report said that UAP are a risk to aviators and U.S. national security. I mean, what do you say to that? Is there some kind of threat? I mean, obviously we want to know more, and there's so much interest in this topic, but it could be dangerous, right?
Well, if it's over the tarmac, in fact, the morning after the mass sighting, I called the air traffic controllers again because it looked like the same exact phenomena in the same exact location, and it was. They confirmed it was 1,000 feet altitude over Class B restricted airspace, a 30-mile radius around the center of the airport. Anyone that comes into that space must call the tower, and no one did. Then they got really nervous, didn't show up on radar again, and they mentioned the 2 pilots called in. This gets interesting because one was a commercial airline pilot on departure. I mean, talk about, you know, precarious and what could happen. Right over, he said, this is right over me. What is this? And a private pilot also called in who was reporting his sighting of this massive V of lights as I was filming it, and it ends up to be, he didn't come forward till 2017, the actor Kurt Russell, which is kind of cool. Wow. He was reporting it while I was filming it. So there is so much to this story that has evolved.
Yes. I mean, and there's still, as I said, so much interest. We're talking about it 26 years later. And I mean, there's still no real conclusive evidence or talk about what it really is.
The only explanation that the military ever came up with was actually a month after a USA Today article came out. As the story unfolds, it's interesting in and of itself because there was no explanation, there was no investigation for months.
You've dedicated so much time to researching this, and I know you had a study that you recently did as well, so there's new research that you have as well.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that, because it really affected people so deeply. As you said, people were in awe, curious, pulled over. I mean, it was just amazing how it affected people in real time and long term. It, not only in real time did it change people, kids that were jumping up and down, Independence Day, as this massive V was coming towards them, because the movie Independence Day was very popular then. It was so inundated with threat, and harm.
Right.
But as it got closer, a calmness came over everyone, a connectiveness to the phenomena that after it passed, they wanted to run after it or have their parents get in the car and chase it. It's amazing in real time, and in long term, it woke people up. It really touched people at such a deep level that it changed many people's lives forever. They stopped eating meat. They went into the peace movement, the environmental movement. It just made them, it woke them up that not only are we not alone, whoever's driving this, like we say, I don't know what they were, but I know that they were. And it's time we get this out in the open and address it, accept it, and study it.
You mentioned that in your book, and I know that that's in the documentary as well. And for people that want to check it out and learn all about this Sunday, and you said, what time is it again?
Well, it'll be tomorrow.
Yes.
the 19th. It's at 1 o'clock, 1 to 5. We're almost sold out. We're opening another theater.
Okay.
So for those who are interested in coming, we're still getting many people that want to come, because not only do we show our award-winning documentary, which we're so proud, and astronaut Edgar Mitchell is in it, 911 police operator, a pilot that saw it. I mean, it's fascinating in and of itself. But we also have speakers. We have Navajo Rangers who are studying and actually taking these phenomena seriously, as now our government and military are, as you mentioned, as well as Travis Walton, who is famous for the Fire in the Sky movie. We also have new witnesses that are going to be telling their stories. Fascinating when you hear it from the witness firsthand. And one of the witnesses that we have a remote Q&A is Alice Cooper. Our own Alice Cooper saw the Phoenix Lights.
Okay, so that's this Sunday, tomorrow. All right, Dr. Lynne Kitei, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and keep looking up.
Thank you. We're back after this.